The Herr Sprint Series originally started out as a series that followed the Cup Series to each and every track the Cup Series went to, never on a fictional racetrack. Well, tonight it all changes here for these guys, and it's the return of a spring race that we used to do back in the day when we had the old National Series, Turkey Hill Series, and it is one of our favorite fictional racetracks in the game. It's the Armory Digital Superspeedway here in Seattle, Washington, for the Armory Digital 250. It's the first race of the fictional swing and the Dash for Cash. 10 drivers will leave this race eligible going into the next race. We'll keep on going until we're down to 4 drivers 2 weeks from now and award the prize then. But it all begins here tonight on this Super Speedway, and it's going to be a wild one here for 24 laps in the Herr Sprint Series. Hello everybody, this is AG here, and it's Sprint Series night in America on a Tuesday night. And the reason why we're doing this race on a Tuesday night is because these fictional Sprint Series races, of course all still going towards the championship, keep that in mind, are all a bit longer than a lot of the other races that we're having this season. It's a 24-lap race around Armory Digital. We got, I forget, 47 or 42 laps next week at Oregon, which is 1.5 miles, and then we've got ourselves 63 laps at Hillside 2 weeks from now, here for our fictional swing in the Herr Sprint Series, acting as the Dash for Cash. First time we've ever done this here in the Herr Sprint Series, but the concept is pretty straightforward and simple. In this first race, the top 10 finishers will remain eligible going into the next race, and of those 10, anyone who is still in next week's race, you still have to sign up each week for this if you're not a full-time driver. From there, the top 4 of those 10 at the Oregon International Speedway will advance on to Hillside, and whoever's the best finisher at Hillside of those 4 wins the $25 grand prize. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and any of these guys who are in this race are eligible, but all of these 24 drivers will be eligible for this Dash for Cash because, hey, you have to be in this race to remain eligible going into the next one. But hey, we're at Armory Digital. That's another big story. It's been a while since we've done a race here on this racetrack, and we're excited to be here tonight. And this is the Armory Digital 250, a race that used to act as the Easter standalone event in the Turkey Hill Series back in the day, and it is back and the same length as well, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Join alongside Matt Tuck for the call of this one. And Matt, the other big thing, and you were very thankful to hear this one, I told you, we're running unrestricted engines here for this race at the Armory Digital Super Speedway, so these guys are going to be flying around here over 200 miles per hour. It's going to get really crazy. What is the key to winning here? Because we see so many passes on this racetrack, it's just constantly cycling through. What do you got to do to win here, especially with 24 laps?
Well, this is definitely one of, I think, one of, if not the most exciting track to watch a race at anywhere we go on the calendar. And it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be all about timing those runs up to the front, as we've seen all in plate racing, but also especially back in the unrestricted plate track era. In the Cup Series, it's all about that timing of when you get to the front of the pack, and that can play a big impact on that outcome of your race. But with only 24 cars, I mean, these guys are going to be able to just, you get to the back, as long as you can stay in touch with the draft, you are going to still have a shot to win here today. So it's just going to be keep your car clean and keep in touch with that draft and be there at the end.
It's going to be very fascinating to see how it all goes down. We may end up with a wreck, and if we do get a caution, only a 2-lap caution period, because still no pit stops for these guys here in the Herr Sprint Series, so they're going all the way through. And hey, we don't need any of that on a super speedway now, do we? Of course, these guys, they don't know about fuel saving and going 150 miles per hour on a super speedway, which is really nice because these guys are going to give us a great race here for these 24 laps here tonight. In the point standings, it's still Alex in a row, your points leader, by 23 points on Vinny Scholes. Of course, both of those drivers are drivers who have to sign up each and every week, and they have done so for each of these races, and they are the 2 guys top in points. Highest of the full-timers is Juan Romero, who is 28 points behind. He starts 4th here tonight. Brandon Nelson's had a great season. Martinsville is 40 points behind. And how about Chris Reynolds? We really haven't talked too much about Chris Reynolds this season, but hey, he's sitting 5th in points coming into this race, 41 points behind. And hey, all those full-timers still have a shot at the championship, and these guys like Alex in a row, Vinny Scholes, and they're going to have a good opportunity of keeping it going throughout the season. Zayden Davidson, our last winner, however, unfortunately missed the sign-up for this race, and this went by really fast, and I think that Dash for Cash was a big reason why. And unfortunately, our last winner is Aiden Davidson, who got the win last week at Dover, not in tonight's event. So it's a shame for him, but he's sitting there only 57 behind. He's going to lose some points in this one, but he's still very much in contention for the title as the season rolls along. Let's go ahead and get these guys to roll off here. But first, let's go through the starting lineup, show you guys who's in this race. It's Chris Reynolds and Leonard Kochmer. They are in the 4. Of course, Leonard had a great race last week at Dover, but couldn't quite pull it off. Corey Case and Juan Romero in row number 2. Skylar Taylor and the 93 machine is Vinnie Scholes this week. Of course, she's had a lot of success on the super speedways in her career on this channel. Eli Bright, Dylan Matthews there in row number 4, and then you got Stuart Gratton and the 13 machine of Aaron Abel. Doing a little double take there because Aaron Abel's been in that 64 a lot this season. He's to the outside of Stuart Gratton in the 64 there. Got Joe Rakowski, Santiago Laborito, Duncan Ward back in the 53 to the inside of the 69. That is Alexander Rowe this week. With the 99 of Jackson Smith to the inside of Anthony McClure, Nathan Faden and Joey Brown, Christian Master, Baltazar Steep, and then Brandon Nelson in the 92. Eric Monaco is in the 96, and Eric Monaco was gifted this ride due to the fact that we had a bit of a mishap last week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say, with the sign-ups, and Monaco was told he had a ride, but unfortunately he didn't, so he got a reward ride for this race, so that's good for him considering the Dash for Cash. And you got Herr and Alonso back behind the wheel, and Michael Lewis back behind the wheel as well there in the 25. Let's go ahead and get these guys to roll off here from Armory Digital. And Matt, it's definitely going to be a wild race here tonight around this 2.6 mile super speedway in Seattle, Washington. Of course, one of the key features is in between turns 1 and 2, you got a banked straightaway in there, so very unique. But what's the challenges here for these guys, and who's going to overcome that challenge to go to victory lane in this Armory Digital 250?
Well, I think the biggest challenge here is just seeing if you can even hold a lead. It's pretty hard to do here, keeping your car on the bottom of the racetrack. You don't want to get stuck on the outside. And, who's going to win today? I mean, not to keep homering the flag, but, the man who writes my checks in the 64 car, he's going to win today. In essentially his own race car. And I have seen the script. It is going to happen today.
We'll have to see if you, in fact, have seen the script. Definitely be cool to see Stuart Gratton back in victory lane as a driver. It's great to see him back behind the wheel here in the Sprint Series. And that's the thing I like about what we did this year with the Herr Sprint Series, having the Wawa Cup Series owners be able to sign up for these races and go for the championship. That's why Vinnie Scholes has been doing what she's been doing. Andrew Williams has made a lot of starts. He missed again, unfortunately. But Joe Rakowski also in here, and Stewart's done a couple of races. Alonso as well. And, these are guys who, especially Gratton and Alonso, who have been driving pretty much since the beginning of competition on the channel. And, while they've kind of moved away from driving in a lot of aspects on the channel, have moved over to ownership. Great to see him behind the wheel again in some aspects here in the Sprint Series. That's the fun thing. We've had a lot of fun with the who's who in this series this year. And, hey, only one driver still has won multiple races here in the Herr Sprint Series. That's Juan Romero. Will he get win number 4 here tonight? It's very possible. Any of these 24 guys can win, and probably all 24 of them will be up front at some point here tonight. So it's going to be wild to see who gets it done here at Armory Digital. It's Chris Reynolds. It's Leonard Kochmer. The Dash for Cash is on. It's Sprint Series night in America here at Armory Digital Superspeedway. How about this 93 pulling away here early on? Definitely a bit of a gap right there. I think there might be an issue on Chris Reynolds in that 52 machine. These guys snaking right behind the 52, and definitely a much larger gap up front than I anticipated to start this one out. But how about Joe Rakowski here, Skylar Taylor, and Duncan Ward all up here? And maybe not the traditional type of race that we see up front here in Armory Digital, but you know what? Very unique racing here at the start of this one.
Yeah, that 93, I'm not sure what shows in the 93 was doing. Not exactly the best maneuver to just build yourself a huge gap early on in the going at a big oval like this. But we see this pack's going to start to tighten back up here real quickly. The 93 got that run on the opening lap, but we got the two black and green cars going at it here, and Joe Rutkowski, who almost pushed Eli Bright to a win a few weeks ago at Talladega. He's got some big oval speed. Oh, that's Skylar Taylor. That is not where you want to be at all, stuck on that outside lane there in that painted section, which has no grip whatsoever.
Yeah, and getting stuck in that outside wall as well down that straightaway we were talking about where the wall bends in on you there. That's not a good spot. Thankfully, they were able to avoid cutting back down on the field. It's Joe Rutkowski up front. Keep in mind, it's a bonus point for leading a lap here in this series. And in terms of the championship, these guys who are probably going to get a lap led at some point here, it's going to be huge. So you definitely want to lead a lap here in this race as Vinny Scholes and Michael Lewis got close to each other right there. And welcome to unrestricted super speedway racing. Of course, we've had a couple of those so far in the Body Armor Pro Series, but first time we've seen it in one of the main series in quite some time. And how about this stuff we've got going on here tonight? Baltazar steep to the inside. Anthony McClure. You know, Anthony McClure's had a miserable season. Of all the full-timers, he's lowest in the points. Of all the guys who have made every race so far this season, he's lowest in the points. In 20th, 109 behind. And keep in mind, you get a maximum of 27 points, I think, in this series. Yeah, 27 points for winning, leading the most laps. And you know what? That's a lot of races there from Anthony McClure all the way up to Alexander Rowe in the points lead. But very interesting first lap, but now these guys have formed the pack back up again. And watch out for Chris Reynolds and Duncan Ward right here. These guys, especially down the straightaway here around the start-finish line, tend to squeeze into each other going into turn one, and that's the trouble spot where we see a lot of wrecks here on this racetrack. Yeah,
we've seen a lot of wrecks, especially down here coming on the transition from the banking down to the back straightaway. Baltazar steep into the outside wall. I mean, this is just absolutely chaotic racing here, but you'll love to see it early on to go. Great to see this racetrack. Still shows it can put on a great race. Little biased because biggest homer in the world for unrestricted engines. But if there was a cup track that should ever come back, this is the one. But here comes Eli Bright to the lead, and we saw him at Talladega contend late for that win. Watch out for this 0-2 car, and also just in general, cool to see Eli Bright here back on the channel competing more often. Really awesome stuff to see.
And the nice thing about Eli Bright, he's made the past two cup races as well, so he's done very good here in the Sprint Series. And also, I think you like this one, Matt. He's been in that 11 machine both times for Grand Autosport in the Cup Series. Well, if he wins here today, he's going to be back in that 11 on Friday night at Kansas, so we'll have to see if that ends up being the case for Eli Bright here tonight. Of course, these guys want to be in the top 10 as well to keep their eligibility for the Dash for Cash going to next week's race at Oregon International Speedway, and that is essentially the old Atlanta, reskinned by Trey Wright, and an idea spearheaded by Brennan Wilmington, I do believe. And we're going to be using that fictional racetrack for the first time ever on the channel next Tuesday night. That's going to be a fun race. And then we close out the Dash for Cash at Hillside. Y'all know Hillside. Y'all know Hillside. You know what's up there. How about the 99 here? That's Jackson Smith, only his second career start on the channel here tonight. Leonard Koshmer here on this inside, and here's Stuart Gratton in that 64. And look at the way these guys just bounce off each other down the backstretch here and how close they can get with that side draft. And they can go 5 wide here and get away with it, which is the really cool thing. But I don't know if they're going to get away with this one. Nathan Faden, Aaron Abel, all in the middle there. I tell you, they're just all over the place here tonight around the Super Speedway.
They're just running all over. The one thing that's working in these guys' favors is this is the pack. There's no second run wave of cars about to come in and catch up to these guys. This is the pack. They are all staying together here. I mean, top 10. Goodness gracious. Separated by 0.3 of a second. Just absolutely absurd. And here we go. Out in front, Stuart Gratton. And that's what we like to see is Gratton Industries leading races. One of the greatest combinations that's ever been known to man. But here comes the Cohen 25 of Michael Lewis, who's had a fun season going for him. And then don't look behind him. The man who's really made his namesake here on the channel in this series so far, this guy here, Juan Romero, really has been the superstar of the series He's gonna. Who knows? He might have a shot to steal another one here tonight.
It's very possible there for Juan Romero. It's very possible for any of these guys. Anybody can still win this race, including Alexander Rowe. The ironic thing about Alexander Rowe, and he's been top 10. Oh my goodness, he almost set that thing up into the wall, hitting that apron through the corner right there. That was dangerous, but he keeps it going in that 69 machine. I was just about to say, the ironic thing, he's got 12 top 10s in 13 races. Only time he didn't finish top 10, I believe, was Texas. But I will say the past 2 races have both been 10th place finishes. As a matter of fact, 3 of his last 4 races have been top 10th place finishes. And he's been slipping up a little bit in the points because of that, even though he's got 12 top 10s in 13 races. And of course, if there's any race for him to finish top 10, it's this one, because he remains eligible for that Dash for Cash going in the next week, because Eli Bright and Aaron Abel got close. There is bound to be a wreck at some point in this race, the way these guys are shooting up near that wall, especially through turns 1 and 2. So I have a feeling it's just a matter of if. Or not a matter of if, but a matter of when here in this one tonight. Here comes Alexander Rowe in the 69, our points leader in the Herr Sprint Series, looking to make his first Cup start since he won the Cup race at Phoenix. He's not won a race yet this season in the Sprint Series, but he does have that Cup win a couple months ago there on that flat racetrack.
Yeah, Rowe's been just stellar in everything he's driven this season. Obviously, I believe he's the only open driver who's gotten a win so far this season on the Cup side, and so it's been a heck of a season for him. And it's going to be interesting too if he keeps this up. He's obviously can't ride in the championship right now, but got to start wondering, Mr. Alexander Rowe going to make his Cup return maybe next season? I mean, obviously, you got a bunch of owners who I'm sure are watching him perform, and that'll be something fun to watch. And here at the 39 behind him, Dylan Matthews, who's also not been spectacular this season, but that race at Atlanta was an incredibly dominating performance from the 39 machine. And then right behind her, we got Hair Gel. Well, we all know what he poses here as a threat, but it's been fun watching some of these drivers who we haven't either seen from in a long time or making their name in this series, and it's going to be interesting come free agency in the Cup Series.
It definitely will. And hey, the Sprint Series champion, they do get a reserve for the Wawa Cup Series next season. Assuming, now here's the thing, if say Vinny Scholes wins the championship, Brennan would have to choose between Vinny being a driver in the series or keeping his team. You can't have both still, even if you win the Sprint Series championship. So that's going to be a little interesting if that happens. But for someone like Alexander, who does not own a Cup Series team, if he wins this championship, boom, someone's going to sign him next year easily. That's definitely a guarantee. Obviously, considering he won a Cup race already this year. So that's a huge thing for Alexander. And Alexander's got a lot on his resume on the channel in the past as well. So that's going to be fascinating. Well, hey, this race is fascinating. I mean, look at the way these guys are just scrambling all over the place. And, the average is only about 200 miles per hour. So this isn't like it was back in the day where we were going 220. These guys are kind of hovering right around 200 roughly in this race. Maybe, peaking around 207, 210 at the most. Which, hey, not too long ago in the NASCAR Cup Series, they were closing in on 210. They got rid of that, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at that. I know you like him going really fast, and hey, the good thing about this game, no one gets hurt, and we can really let him loose and have some fun.
I think most of the NASCAR fan base who likes to watch cars do things other than double file gridlock and throw the worst blocks known to mankind, but Joey Brown there just tried to throw not too bad a block. He got himself up to the outside wall. Now this is going to be interesting because he's going to split the pack up a little bit. That 80 is really slow coming down the straightaway. Going to give this front a little bit of breathing room. And if this pack dissipates, I think these guys will catch back up. But it would be interesting if there was something that happened, say somebody got loose and this pack dissipated a little bit of energy. Because the one thing we see a lot of in these unrestricted engine races on these big ovals is if a pack dissipates, it becomes a lot harder to make passes. Not impossible, but you have to be a little more, you gotta be really smart about it. You gotta time your runs up, but I think they're gonna merge back together here, but this has been, the way they rip that middle lane, just bouncing all over the place. These cars are absolutely on rails tonight, and they look like a handful to drive. And here comes Eli Bright back out to the front.
I think, too, we may also be seeing a little bit of tire wear come into effect as well here on this racetrack. I'm not saying it's having too much of an effect, obviously, but especially 1 and 2 right there. That's something very unique with that high bank straightaway in between the 2 corners. And, you know, that's where you can definitely lose the grip and, if you're not careful, get into somebody. But, hey, I applaud these guys tonight. They've kept it clean. How about Eric Monaco, who, like I said, unfortunately missed out on a ride last week, and we told him he had a ride, but YouTube comments had a skill issue, and unfortunately he didn't end up actually having a ride, so we gave him a ride for this week, and he's back in the 96 for Nicholas Amedio's team, and he's up front right now. And hey, next time by, it's only 8 laps to go here on this Armory Digital 250. And if we go caution-free, this thing's going to fly by. Only 10 minutes in, essentially, to this race, and we're already well past halfway here tonight. Hey, we don't call it the Sprint Series for nothing now, do we? Of course, just like you said, that pack got right back up. And guess who's already back up into the top 5? It's Joey Brown in the 80, who 2 laps ago was in the outside wall, falling back, and now he's 3 wide for 3rd.
It's the silliness, I mean, this incredible nature of the way these races play out here. And, I mean, again, only a 24-car field. It does not take, as what we were saying in the pre-race, are you really safe anywhere? I would argue you're not safe anywhere, but on the flip side of that, as long as you don't lose the draft, you can just gun it right back up here to the front. And now I think you're going to start to see, though, this is going to get a little bit more dicey here because we're at 8 laps to go. And you're going to want to start moving your way to the front if you haven't already. And it's the intensity of this is going to pick up because, as I was saying, too, top 10 drivers advance in the Dash for Cash next weekend at Oregon. So there's a lot. There is, besides just the championship, there's other things on the line here as this race unfolds.
You know something I'm noticing? Eric Monaco's utilizing this outside lane to his advantage very well. Been able to keep that 96 up front the past couple of laps. And you know what? The outside lane is where you want to be through the tri-oval coming to the start-finish line here. And that outside lane has a lot of grip there in that corner, but through the main corners, the inside lane generally has the better advantage. But Eric Monaco really doing all he can to stay alongside Eli Bright here. Of course, top 4 finishers, eligible finishers, I should say, all advance on and will run the Great Wolf Lodge 400 at Kansas on Friday night. So an opportunity to cup start as well. The Dash for Cash is at line. And oh yeah, we got a race victory to hand out here, which I think ultimately is what these guys want because it's a huge opportunity for so many of these guys. Eli Bright clears. Monaco's in the outside wall right there. Oh boy, and Vinny Schultz had to take evasive action trying to get around that 96. And you just get a little bit too loose there and you start touching that outside wall. That's going to send you back. That's a shame there for Eric Monaco, but just like you said, you can definitely gun it back up if he wants to. And how about these guys? Michael Lewis, Joey Brown all in the middle, Enter Kochmer there, and the 4 on the inside, Christian Master. This is the kind of race Christian Master would win, if you're asking me. I think he's actually won here before in the past, so keep that in mind for Christian Master. He's definitely got to watch out for. But how about Eli Bright pulling out to this race lead? Dylan Matthews is 2nd, and how about Michael Lewis up here to the inside of Jackson Smith for 3rd?
You know, they say even though it's equal ratings, one of the guys who has the most experience on the channel in speedway style racing on these big ovals, he's up front leading. Christian Master, another guy who's right up there with him on the experience, he's up here in 4th. Experience pays off here on the channel. And here comes that 50 of Herr, Arvin Alonso down on the bottom. We got some big time players here are coming to the front, but I think we're starting to see that top lane as the tires, I don't think there's a ton of tire fall off as Dylan Matthews goes to the lead. There's not a ton of tire fall off, but as this race is worn on, that lane has moved up the racetrack, and I think a lot of that is due to the tires are wearing off a little bit here, just enough to make it work better.
Definitely getting interesting in terms of that tire wear, and these guys are still hovering around that same average too, so it's going to be interesting to see if that comes into effect near the end of this race. One driver has lost the draft. That's Nathan Faden in the 1-1 Texas a few weeks ago. He's not going to win this race, and he will not remain eligible for the Dash for Cash either, so we'll have to see who will remain eligible for it. You got Alexander Rowe in this inside lane. Of course, you know, it wouldn't be a Herr Sprint Series race without Alexander Rowe finishing top 10, so why not him? This number 69 moving to the inside of here's Arvin Alonso and Jackson Smith, and hello, he's going 3 wide for the race lead. And when you get 3 wide there, that's when things really start to cycle through, because then Eli Bright now is stuck on the way outside lane, and there's really not much for him to do up there, but he is getting a good push there, and he's going to continue leading this race. We've only got 3 laps left to go here in this Armory Digital 250. What a race it has been here in Seattle, Washington.
The way they're cycling, if there was a spot to watch on that racetrack, watch about 4 or 5 rows back on the inside lane. I kind of like where Brandon Nelson in that 92 is at the moment. Watch him over these next few laps. I think he's going to have a big-time shot here if this dice is out, but this 02 is put on an absolute performance. But here comes Vinny Scholes in the 93. We know she knows how to get it done here on these big, big ovals. It's going to be a fun one to finish. 2 laps to go in what's been an incredible race here tonight.
And who finished 1-2 at Talladega? Vinny Scholes and Eli Bright. And guess what? They're 1-2 right now here in Armory Digital. And this is an equal rating series, but you know, NR likes to mess with us sometimes. And how about Christian Master there in the outside wall of Joey Brown? Surprised with how much they've done that here tonight, that they actually haven't wrecked here. But hey, you know, if this was a 40-car field like Wawa Cup Series, you probably would have wrecked already. But the fact that we only have 24 drivers here in this field, you know, makes it a little bit easier for these guys. And what were you saying about Brandon Nelson right there? Baltazar Steep, Brandon Nelson, all fat on lane to the inside, and now the floodgates have opened as we come to the white flag. Here in the Armory Digital 250, Brandon Nelson looking to the inside for the race lead, Corey Case, and here comes Herr and Alonso as well in the 50 machine on the inside. Who's going to get it done? White flag in the air here in Seattle, Washington for, I think Brandon Nelson barely led that lap of the 88. Eli Bright's in the outside wall. He's going to fall outside the top 10 because of that. And here comes Aaron Abel in the 13, also on the inside lane. Alonso's in a great position. If Abel can get enough of a momentum run down the backstretch, that 50 could peek down to the inside. They looked a little bit deadlocked up front right now. Alonso's going to try, though. But it's going to be for second as Baltazar Steep clears for the race lead. Will the 50 have enough momentum on the inside to have a shot? Always got Aaron Abel here, who's going to be pushing him on this inside lane. And here we go, coming to the checkered flag. Baltazar Steep is out ahead and clear of the field. And it's going to be his first career win on the channel. Baltazar Steep wins the Armory Digital 250 here in Seattle, Washington. How about that for Intersys Motor Racing? You guys finally got one. You guys finally got one. You may have had the script. You may have had the script there. It wasn't Stuart Grattan, but it was the other Ludovic Charette-owned driver. Baltazar Steep wins the Armory Digital 250. He, along with Corey Case, Brandon Nelson, Vinny Scholes, Herr and Alonso, Michael Lewis, Aaron Abel, Dylan Matthews, Juan Romero, and Duncan Ward remain eligible in the Dash for Cash going in the next week's race at Oregon.
Well,
that was interesting.
I had the script. I just didn't have the car number. You know, it was close. We were so close. It was like, oh yeah, this 64 is gonna win. But it was the 88 of Baltazar Steep, and him and Nelson took over that last lap of the race there. They were Brandon Nelson came up just short, but advances in the Dash for Cash. So, oh, that's a lot of damage.
I think they got into each other on the cooldown lap. Bit of a rough transition there, but that did not happen on the racetrack, as obviously everyone except Faden, who we already knew, finished well behind there. Those are the guys all finishing on the lead draft. So I'm going to write these 10 guys down, and then we've got ourselves the fastest lap. And 99 of Jackson Smith had the fastest lap of this race. Corey Case was second, so that's good for Corey Case starting up front at Oregon, trying to stay eligible for the Dash for Cash going into next week. Christian Master, 92 of Brandon Nelson, 02 of Eli Bright. You know, it's just all over the place, just like it was at Talladega, and that starting lineup going to be scrambled quite a bit at Oregon next weekend. Oregon is actually going to be kind of like a bit of a pack race as well, so it's a very interesting racetrack there. Like I said, the old Atlanta, as we go through the rest of the fastest laps right here for you. Definitely going to be a fascinating race next week at the Oregon International Speedway. First time we've ever been there. And, you know, Matt, I know you've done some things on that track before. I know Brendan has as well. How do you think that was going to play out next week at Oregon?
Oregon's a very Interesting racetrack. I've never done anything with these National Series platform cars. But in the Cup Series, I mean, it is high speed, high stakes. Track position is definitely at a premium. You're gonna see a lot of You're gonna see a lot of drafting because we've seen a lot of chaos over the years of some guys hitting that little, just getting in a little bit bump draft in the middle of the corner. I mean, Nick Caleb Rose, one of the greatest saves I've ever seen in NR. But no, it's gonna be a very exciting race, or much sort of in a similar way where this style of racing is very different from what we normally see. Oregon also provides a very unique style of mile-and-a-half racing.
It absolutely does, and you know what? We're excited for it. To showcase that track to you guys is probably, I don't know if it's really been showcased large scale before. You guys are going to see it, and we're excited for you all to experience that. Well, how about this race, though, in Armory Digital? And, hey, we're going to have another race here later on in the year with the Body Armor Pro Series, of course. So, those guys are going to put on a good show, and that'll be a fun one then. But, hey, great to be back here at Armory Digital, and a great race here tonight. And, hey, Balthazar Steep pulls it off in the fastest race of the year so far. And, caution free, he's going to have a lot of fun with that one as he finally goes to victory lane. And you know what? These full-timers are starting to get their race victories in here. Of course, still have a couple of them who have yet to go to victory lane, but Balthazar Steep, Juan Romero, Labarito, Dylan Matthews has also gone to victory lane this season, Brandon Nelson. So 5 guys who are full-time who have all gone to victory lane. We're not even halfway through the season. And you know what? We've had 13 different winners in 14 races so far. So these guys are just all over the place in the Sprint Series this year. Going to be interesting to see how it all ends up shaking out. Hey, Balthazar Steep going to be driving that 11, by the way, on Friday night. Corey Case going to be in the 00. Brandon Nelson's going to be in the 13. And then Michael Lewis is going to be in the 50 machine because both Vinny Scholes, Herr, and Alonso, owners in the Wawa Cup Series and eligible to drive those hot seats. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Matt. Congratulations to Balthazar Steep on his race victory here at the Armory Digital Super Speedway. And we will see you guys next week from the Oregon International Speedway. Sign-ups for that race are tomorrow night, still Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time right here on AEG, the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching once again. Here are the points for the Herr Sprint Series after 14 races. Top 10 drivers you see on your screen eligible for the Dash for Cash going into next week. And as always, I will see you guys later.